As we reflect on Allison's journey, we're reminded of the importance of innovation and forward thinking in all areas of our lives. Get ready to explore the future and unlock new possibilities as we dive into Solve What's Next. Please welcome Senior Vice President Kapil Bansal to the stage.
So it's great to see everyone here again. Thank you. Seeing that video is always very inspirational. I will say Allison has raised so many dreams for so many people over the last year. I started Topgolf lessons myself a month ago. I will dream. We'll see how long that lasts for. Some of you got out to Knoxon Ridge yesterday. Thank you for that. I went on the tour myself. You got pictures with the DeLorean, tech for the future. Very, very creative, very inspirational. I was looking for the AI PC in the flux capacitor. I couldn't find it, which is probably a good thing. We want to go to the future, hit the co-pilot button. Doesn't quite have the same ring to it. But again, thank you so much for coming out. Again, more than 300 customers here today. You really drive our progress. You drive the requirements we're building up. You're driving the future of what we want to bring to the industry. Today, I'm here to tell you more of what we're seeing in the industry and spark some ideas with all of you so we can continue these conversations. So as I start, at SHI, we really think about the industry in 3 different waves. And I will tell you there's a completely different buzz about the end user device market this year as compared to last year. The industry was in a decline last year from an end user device perspective. This year, double-digit growth, and it's really coming for 3 primary reasons. The first one, device refresh. I think we've all heard about the millions of devices that were bought during the COVID cycle. People went out there and snapped inventory from wherever they could possibly get it. Many of those devices are more than 3 years old now. They're coming up in life cycle, and that's driving lots of questions from customers around, what are my options now for refresh? The second, and Matt alluded to this one, the Windows 10 sunset, 16 months away. You heard a case study from SHI getting it done in 3 months. I will tell you the average we're seeing from customers for Windows 11 migration is closer to 12 months plus. 16 months away is not that far. So a lot of conversations, a lot of discussions around Windows 11 migration and devices specifically that can support that Windows 11 migration. And of course, the AI PC. Again, Max showed you some statistics as to the amount of growth we're expecting on the AI PC. I'll put a couple more on the screen just so you see it. As you think about the 3 waves, for the PC refresh, hundreds of millions of units that are more than 3 years old. This is a Gartner statistic. You can pull any statistics, IDC, Canalys, it doesn't matter. There's a huge opportunity both from a vendor perspective as well as a customer perspective to refresh those devices. When we think about Windows 11, this is shaping up to be a significant rush in 2025 to achieve this migration. We're going to talk about it can't wait a little bit later, but it truly cannot wait. If you don't want to get caught with support fees at the end of October 2025, I would really encourage you to start seriously planning for this migration now, and this is something we can help you with. And then the last data point, this one is coming from Canalys. I think Matt spoke about the number of AI PC shipments we're expecting in the next year or 2, but this is not a 1 or 2 year phenomenon. It's a 5-year journey. And we'll talk a little bit more about that, and that becomes especially important as you start thinking about use cases. So Matt went with a Slido. I'm just going to go with a show of hands. I think Matt was asking questions around how many of you are exploring the AI PC. I think it was around 40 to 45% of you. I'm going to take a step back from even that. How many of you are even looking to refresh your device portfolio within the next 12 months? And when I say refresh, it doesn't need to be 100%. I would say greater than 50% of your portfolio. Okay. And that's the vast majority, which is why we really are happy that you're here, because we think we've got a lot of thought leadership to provide in that space. I could ask you the not sure, not help, but that's when the whole generative AI will catch all of you and we'll figure out how to approach you after the session. We won't do that. As I think about the questions that customers have been asking us, this is something that we keep getting asked repeatedly to share. What are you hearing from the industry? What are other customers asking you that we should know about? I will tell you, it's the same 5 questions we're getting asked this year as we were getting asked last year. The difference is the questions are a lot more nuanced and much more specific based on the trends that we're seeing today. So the first question we keep getting asked is around device selection. This shouldn't be a surprise to anyone. If anything, and again, I think Matt alluded to this one when he said 70% of employees are looking for choice. It was interesting. At dinner yesterday and even breakfast this morning, I heard several customers articulating why they're still staying with a single platform. That feels like it's becoming the minority. At SHI, we introduced a second and third platform in our workforce last year. It's becoming clearer and clearer this trend will only grow over time. It's a balance between cost optimization and bringing more choice. Those two trends are coming together as we're helping customers figure out how to add more platforms to their workforce while still managing costs at the same time. Flexible procurement and finance. And this one has also been a surprise for me in some respect, because the argument around device as a service was it would provide you stable, predictable monthly payments for a period of time. It never really caught on the way we thought it would. Most of the purchases today still are on the CapEx procurement side. What I will say is in the last 6 months, this has picked up tremendously. And it's picked up because of the linkage back to sustainability. As you start thinking about asset recovery, and I'll talk about this a little bit more when I get to the sustainability factor, and getting laptops back from employees and turning them in to be able to capitalize on asset buyback, these device as a service models have much higher return rates than a typical CapEx purchase model. And for that reason alone, we're seeing a lot more of this going forward. Configuration and deployment. This is almost table stakes of any reliable VAR today. So for those of you that toured Knox, you saw our procurement capabilities, you saw our imaging capabilities, our configuring capabilities. What we're hearing more and more now is persona-based images. So again, it's the balance between trying to reduce and standardize the images you ask to be uploaded on your devices. And as we get more into AI specifically, tools and use cases that can be deployed upfront in those images on those devices is becoming more of a thing. And so that's leading edge at this point, but as you start thinking about configurations and provisioning for your own devices going forward, this is certainly a trend and a question we're getting a lot more about. Sustainability. I alluded to this a little bit earlier. So specifically, there's no doubt about it, the newer devices out there, you're now talking recycled packaging materials. You're talking ease of repair that's so much faster. You're talking about battery life that's so much longer. At the same time, I would argue the single biggest challenge that's facing many customers today is just getting those laptops back. The return rates are, we've seen, especially in the CapEx purchase models for laptop returns, is in the 10 to 20% range. That's just a startling number because that's a check that many customers are not receiving. And as you even start about sustainability goals and zero emission, that truly is a missed opportunity. And so the linkage between sustainability and the financing model, like I said earlier, is becoming even stronger. And then the last area, digital employee experience. And again, for here as well, there's been many tools for many years where you can monitor how employees are using their different tools on their device. Are they getting the experience that they're expecting? The difference we've been seeing in the last 6 months has specifically been around Copilot and what use cases are prevalent or should be used by customers specific to Copilot. So at SHI, we launched a whole new series of workshops that we work with customers, the 2-hour version, the full-day version, the 3-day version, where we'll sit with you, we'll examine your workforce, and we'll talk about what use cases make sense for you. So it's not just a theoretical tool sitting on your device, it's something that you can actually use to drive productivity. So again, all the themes are similar from last year, but as you think about a greater push towards more platforms out there, a greater push towards sustainability and device as a service as it relates to that, more push towards persona-based configurations, more push towards Copilot enablement workshops. These are all new trends or things we've seen in the last 6 months that are driving many of the conversations. So along those lines, and again, I think Matt alluded to this a little bit earlier, we can't forget the basics. So I'd like to just highlight 3 examples of projects we're doing with customers today, where it highlights, again, we have to deliver the basics, but what is the newer, more innovative things that they're asking us to do that some of you may be able also to think about and take advantage of. The first one, a state health department. So specifically here, we are providing the devices. We are configuring, imaging those devices for them. But perhaps more importantly, we're taking those devices back and we're providing on-site field support services. So they have 30 locations all across the state. There are SLAs in place we have with this customer in terms of uptime and getting people out into their offices fast enough to be able to deliver on those SLAs for uptime for their end users. That's a combination of holding inventory in stock in central pools, as well as getting repair technicians out there when we can to be able to repair that device within that SLA. A second example with a global financial services company. And again, for those of you that visited Knox, I want to highlight this for a second because we have, last year at this forum, we announced our hardware lifecycle management offering, where we take devices back, we refresh them, we wipe them clean, we refurbish them, we redeploy them or dispose of them, depending upon the status of that asset. That's no longer an open blank space, a theoretical concept. We're now doing about 20,000 devices per year through that end-to-end lifecycle. And so for this particular customer, it's very important that we deliver on those SLAs, recycle those laptops, especially during surge periods. They have a very peculiar dynamic where they have hundreds, if not thousands, of summer interns coming in June and then leaving in the September timeframe. And so being able to redeploy devices for those interns, take them back, wipe them clean, is very much a part of that business model. And then the last example that I've touched on, and this example, like I alluded to earlier, didn't exist a year ago, but specifically, this is now a customer where we are not only providing the devices, we're providing the co-pilot licenses, and we're having the enablement workshops with that customer to be able to show them how to best use those co-pilot licenses so it's not just sitting on that desktop as another button they may click once a month. So you'll hear about the AI PC several times through the course of today. I've been through sessions where I started to count the number of times I heard the word AI. But we did think it would be helpful to at least early on in the day, just get us all aligned on the terminology. So as presenters come up through the course of the day, you should be able to know what the different definitions are. Phase one of the AI PC. So this really started in the second half of last year. And you, as I think, again, Matt alluded to, TOPS, trillions of operations per second. 1 year ago, when we were looking at PCs, we were talking about 1 to 2 TOPS. Now, last year is when we hit 10 to 15 TOPS in the second half of last year. That's a massive innovation improvement. If you think about the pace of the PC and a 10x improvement in the processor speed is huge. I do want to, and that started with Intel and AMD in the second half of last year. This was called the AI-enabled PC. So you have the AI PC all the way at the top, and the AI-enabled PC is what came out in the second half of last year. I have a box around Apple because I don't want to forget them in the entire story. They are very much a part of the AI story. There was the Worldwide Developer Conference that happened just a couple of days ago. Apple Intelligence was announced there. That should be coming out within the next couple of months, which is the Apple version of the query that's going to be on your Mac, where you can ask similar questions around linking your emails and images and calendars in a generative AI fashion. You also had the Vision Pro, which will now be commercially available through channel partners like SHI by the end of this month. The amount of AI used in devices like that is incredible, as it's watching your eyesight and looking at what words you're looking at and highlighting those words specifically. So they're very much a part of the AI story. Phase two is what was announced a couple of weeks ago. This is now the Copilot Plus PC, which again, Matt alluded to in the introduction. Now we're talking 40 plus TOPS. This started with Qualcomm a couple of weeks ago. AMD and Intel will be coming in the next couple of months. But this now enables a whole new set of use cases. The most commonly referred use cases we see here are around Teams optimization or file index type of sharing use cases. I'll come back to use cases in a second, but for every wave of this AI PC, it's expected to unlock more and more use cases, which as a customer, that's what we really care about. And the third wave, which is expected by summer of next year, now you're talking about 70 plus TOPS. All of these are numbers. What really matters at the end of the day is how do we use this? I will say again, this is probably the most amount of innovation we've seen in the device landscape in many, many, many years. So it's great we're seeing this technology advance. But for all of us, as we're trying to figure out how to use these devices in our workforce, that's probably the more important question. So from an SHI perspective, we really believe it can't wait. We've been doing our device refresh for the last year or two now. It doesn't need to be the latest AI PC. You just need to get a new laptop in the hands of your employees to start playing with this. Matt showed a statistic, 42% of SHI employees now use MindSpark once a month. That only happens because we got them newer laptops so they can start playing with it. It's a journey. Within 6 months, within 12 months, you can see the processor speed may change again. You don't need the latest processor necessarily. You just need to start using these AI technologies so you can see what works for your workforce. And so with that, we would love to be able to help you. We have the resources that can help you with the device refresh. We have the resources that can help you with the Windows 11 migration. We have the resources that can get Copilot Plus PCs in your hands so you can trial that out. And of course, we have several Mac resources on hand to be able to support your Apple journey as well. Again, it can't wait. We really thank you so much for coming out for your time today. I hope you enjoyed yourselves yesterday. At this point in time, I'm going to turn it over to Ed McNamara and Brooke. Brooke is a Rutgers student, and she's going to talk to us as to how she's using adaptive technologies on a day-to-day basis in her life. Thank you so much for coming out. Look forward to talking to you again soon.